Hello and welcome to Galata Plus. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at SS Rajamouli's much-awaited mega epic RRR, which is set in 1920s India. Now, this is going to have a lot of spoilers, so be prepared. The film stars NTR Jr. as Komaram Bhim and RamCharan as Alluri Sitaram Raju. Now, these were real-life freedom fighters, but this is a fictional story. In other words, it is a story woven around real-life characters. It is historical fiction. RRR may have three words, or rather three letters in the title, but it is a movie filled with twos. It has two heroes, both of whom are in top form. There is NTR Jr., who is defined by water. The feelings on his face are as clear as water. He is an innocent man from the Gond tribe, but when required, he can become a tsunami. And then there's RamCharan, who is defined by fire. He smolders inside, and when he rages, you don't want to be anywhere near him. But again, when required, he can become a matchstick flame, which is what happens when he and NTR Jr. become friends. The story is about friendship, but with a twist, because can fire and water really be friends? But both of them have their own stories and their own tracks, which means that both their missions are separate and they remain separate till the end. The only thing common between both of them is that their missions involve the British. Now, there is a superb scene where a man picks up a grenade with his arrow and fires it as a missile. You've seen arrows before, we've seen grenades before, but have you seen an arrow picking up a grenade and using it as a missile? No, right? I'm using that as a metaphor for SS Rajamouli. He takes plots and events that we've already seen, that's the arrow, and then he attaches a grenade to it, which is his touch, his secret sauce, and whatever is on paper becomes magnificent on screen. Now take the scene where NTR Jr. and RamCharan become friends. Now we've already had a scene where RamCharan is introduced in a ring of fire during a riot, and we've already had a scene where NTR Jr. is introduced by a river, that is water. But when they meet for the first time and when they become friends, the scene involves both fire and water. It is a huge scene, it's a mammoth scene, and afterwards they don't just shake hands that their little mission has been succeeded. This is not their big mission, this is a small mission of saving a small boy. When this mission has succeeded, they don't just shake hands, they clasp their hands together while swinging in mid-air. Now this is just one example of the Rajamouli grenade. Now very few people in India understand masala cinema like he does, and fewer still take it as seriously as he does. And as proof, we have the interval portion, which is a mirror image of the scene that I just described, except now there is still one person hanging in the air, they're still nearly clasping hands, but the emotion is totally different because the friends have become foes. In masala cinema, this is called an echo moment, and RRR is filled with these echo moments. Now, after a dance scene, which is a kind of a funny scene, we see RamCharan carrying NTR Jr. on his shoulders. And later, during a war scene, we see the reverse. That is, NTR Jr. is carrying RamCharan on his shoulders. Or look at this echo. A man backstabs someone, and a little later, he is backstabbed by a tree. Now you may wonder why a tree and why not a living being, but in the universe of this world, a tree or a leaf is like a living being, because we see a scene where a leaf just flies through the air and caresses the wounds of a man, almost like a nurse in a hospital. I spent half the movie marveling at some of the conception of the scenes, because there is at least one cinema industry in India that takes masala cinema seriously and has not reduced it to mass cinema, which is more about hero worship and fans. I said this is a movie of echoes, right? So along with the two heroes, we also get a scene where a girl is bought with two coins. We get a scene where a necklace is split into two. We get two religions, that is Hindu and Muslim. We get, of course, the two men and their two missions, and we get two perfectly structured halves. In the first half, we are invited to sympathize with NTR Jr., and in the second half, we are invited to sympathize with RamCharan. Now, this RamCharan character is written like a robotic man, and in a lovely scene, in fact, this is my favorite stretch in the whole movie, we see how this little boy grew up to be RamCharan the robot. I don't want to describe the scene and spoil it for you, but it involves a tragedy, and RamCharan's father won't allow him to mourn the tragedy and says, listen boy, you just have to concentrate on your mission. And here too, there is a scene that involves clasped hands in which the little boy promises his father that he will be a man who will always concentrate single-handedly on the mission at hand. The promise is made. Ajay Devgan plays the father and he's excellent in what could be called a cameo role. Now Alia Bhat is there in a cameo too, and her role is shorter than her first name. Now Rajamouli cinema is not just masala cinema but also mythological cinema. So he shapes Komaram Bhim like the Bhima from mythology, whose strength was legendary. He can roll back at a tiger, he can pick up a motorcycle with his bare hands, and he gets the scene where he gets to tell Ram that he has seen Sita. Now this scene actually belongs in mythology to Hanuman, but then Hanuman is after all Bhim's brother. So a little bit of myth reworking, I guess, is permissible, and Alluri Sita Ramaraju is literally Ram. He fights with a bow and an arrow. He has a fiancée named Sita, and another girl is kidnapped the way Sita was. He has been in a vanvas for about 4 years. It's not a literal vanvas, but then he's been away from home for 4 years. And then consider this, the British Empire is referred to as Lanka. So in a way, RRR is the story of how the Asuras from Lanka, that is the British, were defeated by two Devas who saved India. The cinematographer is Senthil Kumar and his framing is often spectacular. I just don't mean this in the spectacle sense, but also in the way he shoots so cleanly and clearly that even a one versus many, a one versus thousands fight, like the first one that we see RamCharan in, becomes believable. That's what the whole thing is about, right? Make believe. Despite the 3-hour running time, I was not exactly bored with the film, but I wish it had been so much more. I especially wish that it had had more emotional depth, not just in the scenes between Ram and Sita, but in the scenes between Ram and Bhim. What we get is a kind of bromance, that is, they get a fun song, they get to do some comedy with a Britisher named Jenny, and then they have a great dance-off together. But this friendship needed to be established much deeper so that we absorb fully the events that happen in the second half. Right now, it just looks like a series of action scenes, and even in the first half, a betrayal, an act of betrayal would have seemed so much better had this emotional connection been established in a better way. But then I look back at the interval scene and the way it tickles both the child in you and the adult in you. I mean, just wait till you see what emerges from a truck. It blew my mind. My eyes practically popped out and I kept thinking about how Rajamouli keeps referring back to the Amar Chitra Katha, which again tickled both the child and the adult in us, in the sense that as an adult we follow the narrative, but as a child we get these magnificent moments that look great on the big screen. RRR could have been better, but it's certainly one of a kind. If you like this video, do subscribe to Galata Plus and see you soon at the movies.